Hello everyone, welcome back. Apologies for getting this video out a little later than I had wanted, but this will be my respawn, or not respawn, my what you call it, mob sampling video, and this will be the last video in the sampling series that I'm doing. And just to preface, mob sampling is about the most complicated of the sampling that you can do. Um, there's a lot more moving parts than any of the skill sampling. Um, so, without further ado, we're basically just going to get right into it, and I'll try to go through all the relevant bonuses, and then basically what to optimize for. So, here will be a basic, like the beginning of this will be too long didn't read, or too long didn't watch. Yeah, too long didn't watch of sampling, and then I'll get into the nitty gritty a little bit. So, let's begin. First off, we have World 1 bonuses. We have stamps. The most relevant stamps are going to be your base multi-kill stamp. You can push that as far as you can. And then your damage stamps are, you want to push basically everything. The combat stamps across the board are basically pretty good. Because in some way, shape, or form, even base HP, for instance, helps your damage due to the bubble giving you base damage based on your HP, stuff like that. So you're going to want to just push these as far as your account lets you. As your resource generation gets better later on, and your money generation, these stamps go up quicker. So next up, we have the statues. The most relevant statues would be Feasty, Speed if you're on a Bowman, Power statue is fine, doesn't really do much. Um, but yeah, it's mostly just Feasty because the uh, base damage boosters are really strong. As you can see, this one's giving me like 13 million damage. So, and then for star signs, we have very important star signs in World 1. The most powerful star sign in general for mob sampling is Forsaken. You want to make sure that you can survive with the Forsaken on. It is just incredibly powerful. Next up, we have Grim Reaper and Silly Snoozer for page 1, if you will, of the star signs. And then we have Mob Respawn star sign and Snoozer Major star sign. Those will be the 5 star signs that you want to focus on when sampling. And depending on what you are sampling, they change which ones you want. In general, you always want Forsaken, you always want Snoozer Major, and then generally you'll want the 4% respawn over the 2% AFK gains. The 2% mod respawn only comes up being useful very, very infrequently. So that is World 1 bonuses. Next up, we have World 2 bonuses, the Big Bubble. The only really massive alchemy bonus is Mr. Massacre. This is just an obscene bubble, and that's going to be your best source of mob sampling in general. Like this bubble is crazy. After that, just pump all your relevant damage bubbles towards your class. So bubble 1, bubble 2, the percent damage bonus. What is that? Bubble 9 or 11, depending on who you ask. Just basically any of the bubbles that give you damage, and I've talked about them ad infinitum, so I won't dwell on them too much. As far as vials go, you're gonna want to pump your frozen soul vial. I can't even remember the name of this, but this vial is very strong. So after its buff, and then as far as other vials go that are kind of useful, it's like the weapon power vials, the base stats vial, those kinds of things. Just anything that, again, it's just account-wide damage stuff. Next off, you have your obols. You just want full multi-kill sets. Basically, always multi-kill is going to be the best for sampling, but damage obols, either the base stat obols or the weapon power obols. Weapon power obols are kind of worse now. I actually don't know if they win versus base stat ones. But those, like, basically just use whatever obols you can. I would say work towards a multi-kill set. Multi-kill set's great. Let's see. You got your arcade bonuses. Then thankfully, one of the most important one is in rotation right now. You have your 5% multi-kill per tier bonus. You want that one max as high as you can go. Multi-kill per tier is just very powerful. There's also an AFK bonus in arcade, and if that rolls around, you want to grab that as well. So, and then you have your post office. Post office boxes that you want to focus are your Bob's boxes, or your Civil War memory box, your damage box, your utilitarian box. Um, those are your most important. Your food box will help you get more damage. And then on certain mobs, your regular utility box for base defense could help you. Your HP box for survivability effectively helps you take harder samples. So, but yeah, those three, the fight box, damage box, and utilitarian box are like your big ones. Utilitarian box is actually the most important in my opinion. 9.878 multi-kill per tier is nuts. And it also gives you a little bit of boost to your sample size. So, okay, so now then, we have World 3 bonuses. Your biggest one is going to be your Balance of Pain. Balance of Pain is a prayer you get from Clash of Clans, or Clash of Cans, excuse me. That is the World 4 TD, and that is unlocked at Wave 20, I believe. And then your Royal Sampler as well. You want your max sample size as possible. And then as far as other World 3 bonuses, you got your books. Just whatever books you can. Just pump for damage, AFK gains. You're gonna want to build towards maximizing Death Note. And I have done a build guide for all the classes on what talents to focus for that. So, oh, whoops. And then the biggest by far bonus towards sampling is the Death Note. The Death Note gives you the highest multi-kill per tier that you can get from any single bonus. So you can see that even at 5 million for World 2, I'm getting 80% per tier. That is larger than any other bonus in the game. Same here, same here. And then obviously my pride and joy here, 150%. So you're going to want to pump your Death Note as hard as you can. That will be the most beneficial towards taking samples of mobs. So, and then World 4 bonuses, we have Lab basically being the most important. You want your Animal Farm node and your unadulterated Banking Fury node active. In fact, you'll basically want as many things in Lab active as possible. The damage you get from these two are great. You might think that this killer's bright side might affect mob samples. It does not. So you don't even really need to worry about this. You're just basically going to want to use your lab nodes to pump as much damage as possible, basically. Doubling Vial also gives you double the bonus of the multi-kill per tier Frozen Soul bonus. So you're going to want that active as well. Doubling Stamps doesn't do anything because it doesn't double the miscellaneous stamps, which is where your multi-kill per tier. So basically the doubles, I mean, it just does something. It gives you a little bit more damage from your stamps, but if you can't get that one, focus on trying to get the vial first and stuff like that. So, and then as far as chips go, chips are huge. As far as the best chips to go, 50% AFK gain chip, basically always use it. I would use always at least one card doubler. I basically would never use two though, if you have enough other relevant chips. I never found it optimal to use two, I guess I should say. But if that's all you have, that's all you have. Use what you have access to. The only card you really need to double is the Chaotic Amaret card, giving you 12.5% more AFK gains. Yeah, 12.5, I believe. So that one's really strong. Then you're going to want your Star Sign Doubler. Again, just way too good to pass up. Keychain doubler can be good if you have a good enough AFK keychain. However, I found that it's almost identical to mob respawn and multi-kill per tier chips, so you can easily sub that out. The keychain doubler is actually the weakest of those unique ones that I'm adding. And then after that, depending on what world you're in, you're going to want to pump as many wood chips or mob respawners on. Basically, depends on how many damage tiers you can get. Um, I have found that around 15 damage tiers is when mob respawn is almost exactly equal to multi-kill per tier, but again, it depends on the mob. Just kind of mix and match those, or just toss all wood chips on. Wood chips in general is the more powerful one, but I could see it not being very good in World 4, for instance. So that's where you're going to have to do a little bit of testing if you want optimal numbers. But so yeah, that's your chips. And then your meals that really help with sampling are basically just the damaging meals, like turkey, octoplop will be your basically only really relevant ones. So, and then unlocking more pets technically gives you more damage from the animal farm. So that is again something. I would classify it more as like account-wide bonuses, but that helps out. So okay, now then we have cards. Like I said before, you want to double the chaotic amulet card basically as much as possible. Like that is like one of the biggest bonuses you can get. So after that, you're gonna want to use your boop card, just fairly strong. Your clam card, also clammy card is very good. And after that, you just pump as much damage as you need to get to a multi-kill tier. You can also put on like something to increase your survivability, for instance, like percent HP, stuff like that. But the rest of the card slots are completely optional. Depends on how much damage you need to get to your damage tiers. Don't forget that you can also snapshot Chaotic Keyzor when you're loading the map. So I'll show that in a second. After that, you have your shrines. Your damage shrine and your mob respawn shrine are going to be your two most important. However, oh, thank you. The sorry, I just lost my train of thought. The HP shrine is helpful as well for harder mobs that are, kicking your butt. So after that, you're gonna have equipment. All right. There we go. All right. So that was nice. So I have these two shrines in town right now. After the shrines, you're going to have equipment. So let's say I wanted to sample, let's go to sticks, for instance, or slimes. Let's go slimes. There's so I'm using a respawn character just because it's easier for me. I basically have all my respawn stuff on one character, and then I'll swap from him to my other character so that I set the respawn via this character. You're gonna want your character who's snapshotting respawn to be on the map with the undead shrine and doubling that shrine's effect via Kizor. Then, so you want to pump as much respawn on this character as possible. The respawn here, keychains, respawn. Yeah. So then I'll swap over to this character. And I see I am good enough to get that multi-kill tier. Great. If I needed more damage, however, you see how we're at 280 mil damage right now, I can also equip Chaotic Keyzor on this character to give me the bonus for the damage shrine in town. And the reason I can have the shrines in town is because of Shrine World Tour. It makes it a little bit more convenient when you're sampling. So go ahead and snapshot Chaotic Keyzor, and boom bam, you see I got an extra 28 million damage there. So If I needed a little bit more damage, never forget that you can snapshot Chaotic Keysore. So, yeah. And then I could just sample, and we'd be good. Um, as far as card sets that you want to use, basically always bosses and nightmares. However, there are times when the food effect card set can be beneficial, like if you are using move speed pots to um, speed cap a map. So, and then yeah, that's basically all there is to sampling. You at that point just go from mob to mob that you want to sample and take the sample. Things to note, you must have enough survivability. So let's say I wanted to sample Enclave of Eyes. Um, you'll see I have 10% survivability here. My kills per hour are bad because of that. You need to be able to survive the minions, so I would have to go equip food and drop a little bit of damage. So I'd have to have food in this spot. You also have to move your shrines around when you're doing it, so try to sample mob drops during times when, like, right after your shrines have leveled up to get the most benefit out of it. Other than that, there really isn't much that I can say in general for mob sampling. It's going to be way too account dependent on what is best for you and what mob you're trying to sample. So, for instance, let's say I wanted to go to frogs, and I know this is a map where move speed really matters. What I can do is I'm good on the damage. I don't need, like, adding more damage does nothing for me, so I can take those off and nothing happens. I can add speed though from that card, and boom, bam, look, we'll get more kills. Well, I need to get some respawn on this map. Um, so 12, 1.201, 1.209. So adding speed helps me get more kills per hour here. That's just how the map works. So definitely, mix and match some cards up. Basically, your damage cards are going to be your most relevant, and then after you hit your damage tier, you can swap out some speed, you can swap out some food effect, you could swap out some survivability. If I needed some more defense to survive the Stilted Seekers, I could do that. So, apart from that, that's basically all you've got to worry about. And if you can't survive the mobs, just add a little bit of food. Um, for instance, if I wanted to sample Flambage, I know I can't survive this mob. Let's add this on, and voila, you see we go from almost nothing, 21 to 145k. Never forget the power of food, basically. So yeah, that's basically the gist of mob sampling. You could also, like, I could take all of my respawn stuff and put it on this one character. I don't need the second character to do that respawn thing. It's just a lot more convenient. But you can just, like, I can just swap out a whole bunch of equipment, reload the map on this character, and be okay. Um, so yeah, I'll stop rambling. That's basically it. Hopefully, I didn't forget anything. Like I said, mob sampling is the most complicated of the of sampling in general. And after that, you just got to think about what mobs you want to sample. That depends heavily where you are account wide. Spores is always a good thing. Like, basically, my recommendations for that. I guess I'll ramble on just a little bit longer. My recommendations for that is anything that's in the refinery. So these, this. Those are decent samples to have on hand just in case, so you're never running dry on them. Very relevant alchemy bubbles as well. So, like, the strong tools bubble is really strong. So you could sample frog's legs. Something like goblin ears is great early on. Monster teeth or mimic teeth. Um, and then for, like, World 4 people, donut's a really good sample. the, where is it? Um, this you can sample. You could sample Stilted Seekers, but I would actually do that more for Anvil, the because that's the last of the materials. So yeah, it just depends on what you're trying to push. And what you're trying to push depends on where you are account wide. So hopefully I can get a video out talking about that. So yeah, if there's any questions or if I missed anything, go ahead and leave me a comment. And next video we will start on view requests. So look forward to that. Have a good one, y'all.